भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नम ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. So we were continuing on chapter 28. We didn't read the purport yesterday, so I'll read purport today and then we'll continue to next chapter 29th. Yeah, let's read the purport. Read translation once again. My dear King Prachinabhari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, is celebrated to be known indirectly. Thus, I have described the story of Puranjana to you. Actually, it is an instruction for self-realization. So concluded Narada Muni to Prachinabhari that story. So let's read purport. There are many similar stories in the Puranas for self-realization. As stated in the Vedas, Paroksha Priya Evahi Devaha. There are many stories in the Puranas that are intended to interest ordinary man in transcendental subjects. But actually this refers to real facts. They are not to be considered stories without a transcendental purpose. Some of them refer to real historic facts. One should be interested, however, in the real purport of the story. Indirect instructions is quickly understandable for a common man. Factually, the path of Bhakti Yoga is the path of hearing directly about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swaranam Kirtanam Vishnu. But those who are not interested in hearing directly about the activities of the Lord, or who cannot understand them, can very effectively hear such stories and fables as this one narrated by Narada Muni. The following is a glossary of some of the important words in this chapter. Adeshakari, the actions resulting from sinful activities. Agastya, the mind. Amatya, the governor of the senses, the mind. Arbuda, various types of Sravanam and Kirtanam of the Supreme Lord's name, quality, form, and so on. Ari, impediments like diseases. Bhoga, enjoyment. Here in the word refers to real enjoyment in spiritual life. Bhritya, the servants of the body, namely the senses. Dravida Raja, devotional service or a person eligible to act in devotional service. Dwara, the doors of the body, such as the eyes and the ears. Griha, home. For spiritual cultivation, one requires an undisturbed place or the good association of devotees. Idamavaha, the devotees who approach the spiritual master. Idama refers to wood that is taken to burn as fuel for a fire. A brahmachari is supposed to take this idma to ignite the fire used in performing sacrifices. By spiritual instructions, a brahmachari is trained to ignite a fire and offer oblations in the morning. He is supposed to go to the spiritual master to take lessons on transcendental subject matter. And the Vedic injunction is that when approaching the spiritual master, one must carry with him fuel to perform yagyas or sacrifices. The exact Vedic injunctions is as follows. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum evadhigacchati sammit pani shrutiyam brahma nistham. To learn transcendental subject matter, one must approach the spiritual master. In doing so, he should carry fuel to burn in sacrifice. The symptoms of such a spiritual master is that he is expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion, and therefore he constantly engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mundaka Upanishad 1-12. By serving such a bona fide spiritual master, just 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. By serving such a bona fide spiritual master, gradually a conditioned soul becomes detached from the material enjoyment and invariably makes progress in spiritual realization under the direction of the spiritual master. Those who are misled by the illusory energy are never interested in approaching a spiritual master to make life successful. Jaya, intelligence. So Jaya, intelligence. Jirna Sarpa, the fatigued air of a life. Kalakanya, the invalidity of old age. Kama, a high fever. Kulachala, the place where there is no disturbance. Kutumbini, intelligence. Mandirakshana refers to one whose eyes are so attractive that one who observes them becomes maddened by her. In other words, Mandirakshana means a very beautiful young girl. According to Jiva Goswami, Mandirakshana means the personified deity of bhakti. If one is attracted by bhakti cult, he becomes engaged in the service of the Lord and the spiritual master, and thus his life becomes successful. Vaidharvi, the woman, become a follower of her husband. As she left her comfortable home for the service of her husband, a serious student of spiritual understanding must give up everything for the service of the spiritual master. As stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. If one wants actual success in life, he must strictly follow the instructions of the spiritual master. By following such instructions, one is sure to make rapid progress in spiritual life. This statement by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is in pursuance of the following injunction from the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.23. Yasya Deve Parabhakti Yatha Deve Tatha Guru Tasyeva Kathita Haya Arthat Prakashante Mahatmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who approaches a bona fide spiritual master can understand everything about spiritual realization. Malyadhwaja, a nice devotee who is like a sandalwood. Panchala, the five sense objects. Parichhada, the total aggregate of the senses. Paurajana, the seven elements that constitute the body. Pautra, patience and gravity. Prajwara, a kind of fever called Vishnu Jara. Pratikriya, counteracting agents such as mantras and medicines. Purapalaka, the life air. Putra, the consciousness. Sainika, the condition of the threefold miseries. Saptasuta, the seven sons, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping the deity, and becoming a servant of the Lord. Sohurdaya, endeavor. Suta, the son of Vaidharvi, or in other words, one who is somehow advanced in fruitive activities and who comes in contact with the devotee spiritual master. Such a person becomes interested in the subject matter of devotional service. Vaidharvi, the woman who was formerly a man but took birth as a woman in his next life because of too much attachment to women. Darbha means kusha grass. In futu activities or karmakandiya ceremonies, one requires kushagrass. Thus, Vaidarvi refers to one who takes birth in a family of karmakandiya understanding. However, if by karmakanda activities one by chance comes in contact with a devotee, as Vaidarvi did when she married to Malyadhwaja, his life becomes successful. He then pursues the devotional service of the Lord. The conditioned soul becomes liberated simply by following the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. Vidarbha Rajasimha, the best of persons who are expert in food activities. Virya, one who has mercy. Yavana, the servant of Yamaraj. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 4th canto, 28th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life. Jai. So, basically, Prabhupada gives a summary of few terms of the whole pastimes. Now, let us see the next chapter, chapter 29. This is off. Okay. Chapter 29, talks between Narada and the king Prachinabhari. So, as of now, we saw the whole story in the 5 chapters, and story has been summarized in the last verse by Narada Muni to Prachinabhari. And he said that this story is actually about self-realization. Yeah. Now, basically this chapter is again a summary of last chapters, where Narada Muni is going to explain King Prachinabhari again that what are the characters used in the previous chapter are related to for a single human being or living entity. That's why we can, because sometimes this story is difficult for understanding. So he's going to explain this again in a clear terms to Prachinabhari. Let's discuss. Text 1. Prachinabhari Barhiruvacha Bhagavamstev chosha samabhir samyag Bhagavamstev chosmabhir nasham yag avagamyate kauyastad vijanati na vayam karma mohita. Yes, tell Mataji.
Hare Krishna. King Prachinabhari replied, My dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranchana. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand that for us who are overly attached to fruitive activities, to realize the purpose of your story is very difficult. Hare Krishna.
So you're asking that this is quite difficult. Can you please explain me, kind of. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:13, Lord Krishna says, Trivir guna mayir bhavir evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam na vina jati mam edebhya param abhyayam. Duelled by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Generally, people are enchanted by the 3 modes of material nature and therefore practically unable to understand that behind all materialistic activities in the cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Generally, when people are engaged in sinful or pious activities, they are not perfect in knowledge of devotional service. The allegorical story narrated by Narada Muni to King Barishman is especially meant to engage conditioned soul in devotional service. The entire story narrated allegorically is easily understood by a person in devotional service. But those who are engaged not in devotional service but in sense gratification cannot perfectly understand it. That is admitted by King Barishman. This 29th chapter describes that by too much attachment for women, one becomes a woman in the next life. But a person who associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative becomes free from all material attachment and is thus liberated. Text 2. Narduvacha Purusam Puranjanam Vidyat Yad Vayanakatte Atmana Puram Ekadvitri Chatuspadam Bahupadam Apadakam. Yeah, Kushali Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. The great sage Narada Muni continued, "You must understand that Puranjana, the living entity, transmigrates according to his own work into different types of bodies, which may be one-legged, two-legged, three-legged, four-legged, many-legged, or simply legless. Transmigrating into these various types of bodies, the living entity, as the so-called enjoyer, is known as Puranjana."
Yeah. So, who's Puranjana? He's saying that transmigrating into these various types of bodies, the living entity as the so-called enjoyer is known as Puranjana. So, Narad Muni is clarifying now that Puranjana is actually the living entity, the Jiva, who goes into different types of bodies, one-legged, two-legged, three-legged, four-legged, and many others like that. Yeah. So basically different species. Okay, let us see. How the spirit soul transmigrates from one body to another is nicely described here. The word Ekapada, one-legged, refers to ghosts. For it is said that ghosts walk on one leg. The word Dvipada means bibbed, refers to human beings. When he is old and invalid, the human being is supposed to be triped or three-legged because he walks with the help of a stick or some kind of cane. Of course, the word Chatuspada refers to quadrupeds or animals. The word Bahupada refers to those creatures who have more than four legs. There are many insects such as the centipede and also many aquatic animals that have many legs. The word Apadaka means without legs, refers to serpents. The name Puranjana indicates one who enjoys possessing different types of bodies. His mentality for enjoyment in the material world is accommodated by different types of bodies. So basically, Prabhupada explains about the different types of legs, and Narada Muni says that the Puranjana, which I started the story, actually he is the living entity. Yeah. Text 3. Yo vigyānatā hritastasya puruṣasya sakhesvara yanya vigyāyate pumvir namvirisya vakriye gunai. Rumala Mataji? Mata, you're muted. I think can't hear you.
Sorry, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You
The person I have described as unknown is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master and eternal friend of the living entity. Since the living entity cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material names, activity, or qualities, he remains everlastingly unknown to conditioned soul. Hare Krishna.
So or avigyata or agyata friend came to Prachinabari not Prachinabari, sorry, Vedarvi. At the end of this last chapter, we saw that's also Supreme Lord, right? So Narada Muni is saying that in a very initially when I told the story of Puranjana, there was Agyata, his Agyata friend. That Agyata friend is the Supreme Lord, who is always within this body, side by side to the soul, but we are unknown of that. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unknown to the conditioned soul, he is sometimes described in the Vedic literature as Nirakara, Avigyata, or Avan Manasha Gochara. Actually, it is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be perceived by material senses as far as his forms, name, quality, pastimes, or paraphernalia are concerned. However, when one is spiritually advanced, one can understand the name, form, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 1855, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yash Chasmi Tattvataha. One can understand in truth the Supreme Personality of Godhead only when he is engaged in devotional service. Ordinary person engaged in pious and impious activities cannot understand the form, name, and activities of the Lord. The devotee, however, can know the personality of Godhead in many respects. He can understand the Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that his address is Golok Vrindavan, and that his activities are all spiritual. Because the Lord's form and activities cannot be understood by materialistic people, he is described by Shastras as Nirakara. That is one whose form cannot be ascertained by a materialistic person. Right? This does not mean that the Supreme Personality of God has no form. Actually, I was about to say it, Prabhupada writes it here clearly. Sometimes the Mayavadis there refers that Lord as Nirakara. The Nirakara or Nirguna, these two terms being used, but Prabhupada says that here this Nirakara means one whose form cannot be ascertained by a materialistic person. This does not mean that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no form. It means that it is not understood by the karmis or voodoo actors. That's it. His form is described in Brahma Samhita as Sachidananda Vigraha, as confirmed by the Padma Purana. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevar Mukhe Jivado Swayam Eva Sprate Adaha. No one can understand Krishna as he is by utilizing the blunt material senses. However, the Lord reveals himself to his devotees, being pleased with them because of their transcendental loving service rendered unto him by performing Sevan Mukhe, by performing Seva, one can actually understand Krishna. Otherwise, I think we discussed this point in our Nectar devotion as well. Since the name, form, qualities, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, cannot be understood by the material senses, he is also called Adokshaja, meaning beyond sense perception. When the senses are purified by devotional activity, the devotee understands everything about the Lord by Lord's grace. The devotee understands everything about the Lord by the Lord's grace. Yeah. In this verse, the word Pumbir, Namavir, Vak, Kriya Gunai are especially significant because God, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has many names, activities, and qualities, although none of them are material. Despite the fact that all these names, activities, and pastimes are mentioned in the Shastras and understood by the devotees, the karmis cannot understand them, nor can the jnanis or mental speculator understand them. Although there are thousands of names of Lord Vishnu, The Karmis and Gyanis intermingle the names of the Supreme Godhead with the names of the demigod and human beings. Because they cannot understand the actual name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they take it for granted that any name can be accepted. They believe that since the Absolute Truth is impersonal, they can call him by any name. Otherwise, they maintain he has no name. This is not a fact. Here it is clearly stated, Namavir va Kriya Gunai. The Lord has specific names such as Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Narayana, Vishnu, and Aduksaja. There are indeed many names, but the conditioned soul cannot understand them. That's why he's called as Avijnana, or eternal unknown friend, until we realize by the association of the devotees. Beautifully Prabhupada says the devotees understand everything about the Lord by the Lord's grace. Otherwise, it's not possible for non-devotees to understand Krishna's pastimes, form, lila, etc. Text 4. Yada jingra ganam pursha kartasyena prakratir gunan navadvaram dvihastangri tatra manuta sadvaiti. Tamil Sheli Mataji?
Yes. When the living entity wants to enjoy the modes of material nature in their totality, he prefers, out of many bodily forms, to accept that body which has 9 gates, 2 hands, and 2 legs. Thus, he prefers to become a human being or a demigod.
Yeah, now he explains that what is the 9 gates. 9 gates of city means is the body. So this is a very nice explanation of how the spiritual being, the part and parcel of Krishna, God, accepts a material body by virtue of his own desire, accepting 2 hands, 2 legs, and so on. The living entity fully enjoys the modes of material nature. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:27, Ichha dvesa samuthena dvanda mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Ocean of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Yeah. Okay, I think let's see. I think something is coming as we discussed yesterday. Last question. Originally, the living entity is a spiritual being, but when he actually desires to enjoy this material world, he comes down. From this verse, we can understand that the living entity first accepts a body that is human in form, but gradually, due to his degraded activities, he falls into lower forms of life, into the animals, plants, and aquatic forms. By the gradual process of evolution, the living entity again attains the body of a human being and is given another chance to get out of the process of transmigration. If he again misses his chance in the human form to understand his position, he is again placed in the cycle of birth and death in various types of bodies. The desire of the living entity to come into the material world is not very difficult to understand. Although one may be born in a family of Aryans, where there are restrictions against meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex, still one may want to enjoy these forbidden things. There is always somehow who wants to go to a prostitute for illicit sex, to a hotel to eat meat and drink wine, and to a gambling club to enjoy so-called sports. All these propensities are already within the heart of the living entities. Loki Vyavashmita Madhya Sheva Nityahi Jantor. But some living entities stop to enjoy these abominable activities and consequently falls down to a degraded platform. The more one desires a degraded life within his heart, the more he falls down to occupy different forms of abdominial existence. This is the process of transmigration and evolution. A particular type of animal may have a strong tendency to enjoy one kind of sense enjoyment, but in the human form, one can enjoy all the senses. The human form has the facility to utilize all the senses for sense gratification. Unless one is properly trained, he becomes a victim of the modes of material nature as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 3.27. Prakriti kriyamanaani gune karmani sarvasa ahankara vivunatma karta amiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. As soon as one desires to enjoy his senses, he puts himself under the control of material energy and automatically or mechanically is placed into the cycle of birth and death in various life forms. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Could you please scroll back a little bit, because there was one sentence that struck me, and I was wondering if it's a mistake from the Veda base or actually exactly. I wonder if Prabhupada meant that.
Yeah, I felt the same actually. So let's see it once again. I felt the same. I paused for a few seconds here again actually. So he says all these propensities are already within the hearts of the living entities, but some living entity stop to enjoy these abdominal activities and consequently fall down to a degraded platform. So I understand one thing here is that there must be typing mistakes here. Yeah.
Maybe we should search the Bhagavatam in printed form, no, and see what it says.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me right away open the Bhagavatam. It's not very far. That's for.
Prabhu, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Atari or Binodji, but I thought that to be what it means is we all have the desire, but we don't all act on it. Those who act on it degrade even further.
Yeah, but he says some living entities stop to enjoy these abdominal activities and consequently fall down. So, if I stop to enjoy these abdominal activities, then I should not fall down to degraded platform, isn't it?
I thought that meant, for example, we all have desire, then, but the thing is, you all don't act on it, I act on it, and therefore I fall down even more. But you guys still don't act on it. It's there, but you don't act on it. Self-controlled. That's what I thought it meant.
Okay, let's think a bit. So, what I understand is what it's saying that Loke Vyava Misha Madhya Sheva. So people have these propensities of illicit sex, meat eating, wine, and gambling. Yeah. So that is already within the heart of living entities. But some living entities stop to enjoy these abdominal activities. So this but can be used as a not, kind of, So okay, let me have a look on the hard copy, 429, and verse number, I think it's 3 4 429. 429 and verse number is 4.
Prabhu, I think it seems like it's the same.
Is it you found as well?
Yeah, I found it in the hard copy. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Okay, yeah. Still only want to enjoy this thing.
Hare Krishna, bro. I checked in other Prabhupada books, which is the old one. There it mentioned stop to enjoy. Something it's mentioned like there. It seems that is correct.
It's
It's
same as
mentioned
here
that,
as well.
but some living entities stop to enjoy these abominable activities. I don't know.
Oh, either, yeah, it could be like the some people they stop it, but again it says no, but some stop to enjoy these abnormal activities and consequently fall down to a degraded platform. That doesn't a bit make sense.
anyway, even if it's not what Prabhupada meant, we understand the point, right? It maybe, I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. Either either it could be this birth might be taking it to another, like sometimes he's the only one, but kind of maybe that could be getting something else. But anyway, the essence is we understood that anyone who engages in male activities, they consequently fall down to a degraded platform. That's the essence. There might be a grammatical mistakes, or we are not able to understand the actual thing. Could be here and there, but essentially the point is that uh, by performing these activities, yeah. Anyway,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we can check in Devanagari, like in Hindi. Sometimes it like it,
yeah.
like
That,
it will be more clear if you want. I'll check it after class.
yeah, I don't have a Hindi one with me, but I've got a PDF one, but I need to find out.
I have all the Hindi full set of Bhagavatam, so I'm
Okay,
in India, so I have all the
okay.
things. So
I got in PDF Hindi ones, but anyway,
okay.
the essence is we got the essence. Essence is that by acting in this criminal activities, we degrade ourselves. Okay, no problem.
I guess if it had the word start, it would resolve everything instead of stop.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing is with the, yeah, kind of could be two word OP. Anyway, that's the thing. Let us see chapter. Yeah, I'm just referring. Give me a second. I'm just referring to Bhagavad Subodhini. There it says, verse number 4: 9 gates of the city, compared to body with 9 openings and 2 hands. And comments: when the jiva wants to enjoy, he considers a human or demigod body to be the best. Okay, it just gives only brief of that. Anyway, okay, let's continue from text 5. We got the sense though. Text 5. Buddhim tu paramadam vidyan mamaham iti yat kritam yan adhisthaya dehesmin puman bhungte kshavir gunan. Yes, Atu Krishna Prabhu.
The great sage Narada continued. The word pramada mentioned in this regard refers to material intelligence or ignorance. It is to be understood as such. When one takes shelter of this kind of intelligence, identifies himself with the material body. Influenced by the material consciousness of I and mine, he begins to enjoy and suffer through his senses. Thus, the living entity is entrapped.
Yeah, I think this chapter is giving quite good answers about the discussion we had last night, isn't it? So how we are getting trapped by the influence of material modes, our consciousness of I and mine. Yeah, let's read out. In material existence, the so-called intelligence is actually ignorance. And when intelligence is cleared up, it is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, when intelligence is dovetailed with the desires of Krishna, it is called Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Krishna says, Tesam Sakatayuktanam Bhajatam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The real intelligence means linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this is done, the Supreme Personality of Godhead from within gives one the real intelligence by which one can return home, back to Godhead. Intelligence in the material world is described in this verse as pramada, because in material existence, the living entity falsely claims things to be his. He thinks, I am the monarch of all I survey. This is ignorance. Actually, nothing belongs to him. Even the body and the senses do not belong to him, for they are given to him by the grace of the Lord to satisfy his different propensities through the material energy. Nothing actually belongs to the living entity, but he becomes mad after everything, claiming this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. This is called illusion. Nothing belongs to the living entity, but he claims that everything belongs to him. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that this false intelligence be purified, cheto darpana marjanam. When the mirror of the intelligence is polished, the real activities of the living entity begin. This means that when a person comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, his real intelligence acts. At that time, he knows that everything belongs to Krishna and nothing belongs to him. As long as one thinks that everything belongs to him, he is in material consciousness. And when he knows perfectly that everything belongs to Krishna, he is in Krishna consciousness. Wow, nice purpose actually. And we're on the time clicking to 9 as well. So we'll pause today here. We'll continue from text number 6 next week. This is a bit long chapter, but this is summarizing our last 5 chapters again. So as of now, we saw Narada Muni says to Puranjana that to Prachinavari that Puranjana, which I said you, that's a living entity. He enters the city of the he enters the body with different legs, and then Avijja friend was the Supreme Lord. 9 gates of the city is the body. I think that's still, and then Puranjani is the material intelligence, which is ignorance. Right? Puranjani has 2 intelligence. When she came to Puranjana before marriage, and after that Puranjana went to forest, he came back again, and then the intelligence got purified by hearing, by sadhu sangha. So that intelligence initially becomes ignorance or material intelligence, and later on that intelligence, when used in the Krishna consciousness, become a proper intelligence. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. Tomorrow we'll continue our discussion on nectar devotion. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.